So I'm back at it, new week, new car. As you may have seen on my socials, I was in the hospital, but I'm feeling 90% there, but yeah, I couldn't let the grind stop. And this car here is actually really special to me because for as long as I can remember, my family has had Isuzus, and we started with the KB300 with over 220 kilometers on it, sorry, 220,000 kilometers on it, to the actual old generation of this. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the all-new Isuzu MUX 2025. So before we start, let's define the trim levels for the new MUX. You've got three levels, the LS, the LSE and the Onyx, which is considered the flagship model of the new MUX. If you're selecting the LS though, you have an option of a 1.9 litre or 3 litre turbo diesel engine. However, if you're selecting the 1.9, you can only select the 4x2 transmission. But if you're going for the 3 litre, you have the option of 4x2 or 4x4. Now with the LS, it's a step up in tech, luxury and probably just all overall experience. You've got the option of the 3 litre 4x2 or 4x4. And if you head over to the flagship, the Onyx, you only get a 3 litre 4x4 configuration, which is still pretty good. However, let's talk about the pricing a bit later. So the engines have also taken a bit of an upgrade. Well, technically the 3 litre has. The 1.9 is still pushing out the same 110 kilowatts from the previous generation with that 350 Newton meters of torque. However, it has been refined for efficiency. Now, if we're talking about the big boy, the 3 litre, it is pushing out 140 kilowatts. That's 10 kilowatts more than the previous generation with 450 Newton meters of torque. The new engine also has a new torque bandwidth sitting between 1600 and 2600 RPMs. So my first impressions, I've been impressed, I'm not gonna lie to you. Again, I'm coming from the experience of actually owning, well not owning, but driving the previous generation. And I am absolutely stunned at all of the thought that they've put into the new MUX. The interior as well has really been updated, especially the aircon, because if you've owned an MUX, you'll understand when I say the previous aircon was a waste of ergonomics. It was this giant dial that just really sucked. So now you've got a new updated LCD bar with individualized controls for you and your passenger, and I think that just took an extra bit of thought behind what it's supposed to be and who it's supposed to be for. The materials also feel like an upgrade. It's just that I have a small issue with the gloss black. It scratches really easily. The plastic panels also scuff a bit easily. But other than that, it's been a genuine upgrade from the previous generation. And now, I'm sorry, I keep saying previous generation. Take a shot of water for every time I say it. But again, I have that experience to compare the two. I love that the dash sits a bit higher. It has this leather wrap around it, and I love the new screen. It's just a genuine upgrade, and that has really impressed me. Isuzu has kept a lot from the previous generation MUX, but also addressed a couple of concerns and questions I had about it, which I'm sure other owners might have. For instance, they've gone with a little more simpler, dare I say, elegant front cabin, removing unnecessary and I guess otherwise pointless and impractical storage, and stuck with a more traditional storage point. They've kept the pop-out cup holders, which makes coffee to work so much better in the mornings. The control layout has been well thought of in this generation, moving some of the controls like the mirrors onto the doors and adding more functionality to the steering wheel. It's all these small nuances that have been addressed by Isuzu that just shows you their commitment to improving the MUX and making it a proper premium luxury SUV. A big selling point for the new MUX is definitely its styling, which has pushed it into a different league. But let's start off with the front. You've got a brand new grille, it's big, it's mean, it sucks a lot, brand new badging, this beautiful bumper that's so aggressive because it has this really cool feature. Actual air vents, none of that plastic rubbish that we see on some other high-end cars, and which is complemented by these really amazing brand new striking LED headlamps and fogs. So the side profile has also been revisited. As you can see, the body line is looking a bit more refined and a bit more slick. I like that they've kept a lot of the heritage from the previous generation in terms of the step and the roof bars on the top. I think that the biggest change I noticed was the actual window. So this used to be here and now it's here, actually improving the view from the back seats. That always bothered me because it was always back and it just like felt like you were in like a prison cell. So this is at least a good change for that. But also you might have noticed some new wheels. These are the 18-inch alloys that you get with the car. You do get 20 inches on the Onyx, but these still look pretty good. So the back obviously has also been redefined. We now got full LED rear lights. However, the only issue I have is the fake out back bar. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't know why. It just feels like if you're going to use the space for that, you might as well make it functional. But that's just my opinion. Badging also looks beautiful and sexy. I love the diffuser. It's really giving the aggressive SUV vibe. But here is the coolest feature of the back. Electronic tailgate. That is honestly, I think it has to be a must on every SUV. I think that is just the coolest feature that has been added to the MUX. So to summarize the styling elements that make sense, it's the upgraded lights, the gorgeous grille, the 18-inch alloys, the practical aero, and the revised boot. So pricing starts from 752,300 Rand for the 1.9 litre LS. However, let's be honest, you really want the 3 litre, where the LS starts from 852,600 Rand, which is not bad for a 4x2, but can go up to 939,500 Rand for the 4x4. Where the big boy, the LSE 4x2 starts at 886,700 Rand, and for this bad boy here, you're getting it for 973,000 Rand 700. But for a first for Isuzu, a 1 million Rand SUV, which the Onyx costs just over 1 million Rand. Yeah, so the pricing is very nice because you have a lot of options to choose from. However, I'm on the fence about the Onyx, but maybe we'll get that to test next and actually see why it's worth that price. Okay, so we're on the interior and everything feels pretty familiar but refreshed. I love the use of the materials. It's a real upgrade. It gives a really premium vibe to it, and that's really appreciated, especially in this day and age. The 9-inch infotainment system is a definite eyepiece. Android Auto, wireless CarPlay, so you're not left in the stone ages. The center console has also been updated. We're looking at 2 USB-C type ports, a 120 watt charger. So if you are planning to plug in an accessory or plug in an inverter, especially if you're using this car for some camping or family gatherings and stuff, you're sorted there. The other thing I want to mention is the steering wheel. Absolutely love it. Love the whole black, the minimal trim. The feel of it is very, very nice. All in all, I think the front of the cabin aims to be a more premium SUV, and I believe it hits that on the head. Absolutely just fascinated by it. It's very comfortable, very nice. The only thing I kind of wish for, and this is something I would love, is a wireless charger. I don't know if people really dig that or not, but I think that would have made this cabin absolutely 10 out of 10. But let's head over to the middle row. Okay, so the middle row is surprisingly spacious. So I just moved the seat just to get a bit of a better shot. But when the seat was set here to me, I had plenty of room by my feet and by my knees. Plenty of headroom. Just love all of the accessibility points. Yeah, the only thing I can sort of say is a bit of a letdown is the ergonomics. Firstly, the aircon control is here all the way into the top, which makes it a bit feels dated. Usually we used to seeing the aircon there, but yeah, it is what it is. You also get 2 USB-C ports and a little bit of a cubby storage thing. Other than that, not many creature comforts, but it's not as bad as the economy seats or the rear seats, which basically only have cup holders. Look, those rear seats are not for full-grown adults, those are for the kids. So just throw them back there, put some snacks, let them just jawl it out. But if you had to fit 2 adults in the back, yeah, they'll survive for like a very short distance. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. The only positive I have to say about the rear seats is the floor. So like, it's sort of almost level with the floor here. So that means you're not sitting with your knees right into your chest, and you actually have a decent amount of, like, you know, leg space. I mean, if you're a smaller child or something, yeah, you'd be okay. But yeah, that's it for now. Let's head on to the road. Oh boy, so the MUX, this MUX here feels absolutely amazing on the road. It has such presence to it, and I'm not just saying that from like probably the outside, but inside as well, especially with the stability and the ride height. It just feels like it has a huge presence. So if you've followed Isuzu for a while, and if you know what they're about, the acronym that comes to mind is MVH. So that's noise, vibration, and hardness. So basically it's a study by Isuzu to reduce those 3 components of any ride. And I can honestly say that they've put a lot of attention into the ride for the MUX just by adding larger diameter shock absorbers to improve dampening, double wishbones in the front. Oh, this ride is so much better than the previous generation. And that is probably thanks to the commitment to reducing the road noise, the vibration, and the hardness. I think the one thing that has been improved and has really surprised me is the transmission. So this is a 6-speed automatic, and this is in paddle shift mode. How was that? That was seamless and just effortless. Like, I'm comparing it again to the previous generation, which felt, in my own words, you know, quite sluggish and quite disgusting to shift. So this has definitely been an improvement over that generation, but I'm not sure how it holds up to some of its competitors' transmissions, which, dare I say, kind of outrank it. This is an absolutely joy to drive on roads, but I'm hoping we'll see the same sort of language transition into off-road experiences. So you can't call this a comprehensive review of a 4x4 without taking it to an actual 4x4 track. And let me be the first to say that the next generation MUX has definitely been improved over the previous generation. I hope you've been taking your shots of water for every time I say that. If you've not, I think it's time to hydrate, because this review is pretty long. So what can I say about the suspension? Like I mentioned, we've got larger diameter shock absorbers, therefore improving the dampening, but also the actual rough road dampening mode, that has really surprised me. So when we started off, we didn't put it on, and it was a bit tricky. I was like, no, wait, this is really a 4x4. But then having that mode on made all the difference. I'm not sure how exactly it works, but it really smooths out all of these bumps, and yeah, I think that's a really great feature to have at an arm's reach. I like that the turn radius on the car is not terrible, so you can take some of these corners like a champ, but also just having the ability to put down all of that 140 kilowatts makes it a very fun car to drive. Look, there are better 4x4s out there. There are better, you know, handling ones, but for the most part, this is doing a great job. The tech upgrade includes the 360 cam, which comes really handy in this 4x4 trail, because now I can switch over to my fender views to kind of see how my angle is looking. But now on the digital cluster, you also are able to see your body roll on the X and Y axes, which gives you a bit more information to use when navigating tricky courses. Alright, so if you didn't know, the MUX is actually based on the D-Max platform, so same engine, same frame, same sort of suspension. However, the difference between an SUV and a bakkie is very evident, especially on a 4x4 track, Whereas this has no open sort of back and no weightlessness to it. It's actually feeling very grounded. And that's thanks to the bigger and larger shock absorbers, which add to that layer of dampening. But I think that's it for today. Let's head over back to the beach. Yeah, so I might be biased because my family has owned different Isuzus, but I think that gives me a bit more experience to give you an honest review of the new MUX. And I'll say it, I love it. I would get this car if I could afford it. I'm very broke, so please subscribe to the channel. I need the followers. But yeah, it's stylish, it's economical, it's addressed some of the previous concerns, I suppose, of the last generation. It's a very good car. I think the only thing that I would probably contest is the pricing, but hey, you have to stay competitive in this new market. Anyway, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.